Welcome everyone.
Hi Vara, I'll say it now with sound.
That's good.
Good evening everyone, or good morning as the case may be.
We can stop sharing the screen, Lynn.
Okay. Here we are. And welcome everyone.
How are you, Lynn?
I'm very good, very well, thank you.
I came after you started the session, so I didn't want to disturb your meditation.
Okay.
It was good.
Awesome.
We've been running these sessions for a while. Often we forget to explain that, we also have a nice and safe private group that people can join, where you post messages of reminding about everyday meditation and some interesting things. So I thought I'd after all these years, I figured out how to do a QR code. So I thought I'd share this QR code so anyone who is interested in joining this little private group can simply scan this QR code in the front and join the group. So I'll just let it be there for a couple of seconds.
It works. I tried it a little while earlier, just with your camera on your phone.
So you're the ones who, that's right, you just have to point the camera to the phone, a camera of the phone to this QR code. You don't need any special software. We'll just point to a link. You are the one who posts a lot of messages on this group, and do you want to explain what it is?
Yes, so we have this weekly meditation, which is good. It's a good chance to ask any questions, to try and deepen our meditation together. But then in the days in between, what do we do? So we need to do our own meditation. And, if you're just sitting there and you're newly getting yourself into the habit, it's nice to have a, little 10-minute guidance. So we've got a morning meditation and an evening balancing meditation. So if you can do that twice a day, that helps you grow into that spiritual being we're all trying to become. So you've got it there, and a few people nicely have made these lovely meditation posts. So we make sure we've got a couple of those on the group each day. So you've got a bit of help for doing
I
them.
thought one way also to look at at Lynn is Shimataji is going to talk today about one of the energy centers called the Swadisthana, right?
Yeah.
And then we're all busy people. Like I'd say we are fairly creative in getting things done, but also this creativity in us, more than being creative, it makes us chase our to-do lists.
Yeah.
And getting busy in that to-do list, sometimes you forget the important things like meditating.
Yeah.
And during those times, it's nice to get a little nudge
Yeah.
that, hey, you can meditate using this. Here is a guided meditation, and that's the reason why we made it. Um, there are some new people in the group who might not have the context of what Shimataji is going to talk about today. So I thought Lynn will just quickly show the subtle system,
Good idea.
and then we'll just point out. So that's called the subtle system. Very quickly, what subtle system means is we have our physical body, we have our emotional body, we have our mental body. So obviously, the mental and emotional are conceptual constructs. Physical or gross body is what we can see, but that is not all that explains our existence. So we think about people in a certain way. Sometimes we think nicely about people. Sometimes we don't think nicely about people, and we form opinions and so on. So that we can talk about those energy centers, but usually it ends up being theoretical. And more I the feedback I get from people who come to these sessions is, we got a lot of knowledge that we can dig out from a million sources on the internet. Can you just stop talking and get us into a meditative state? And people have told this to pretty bluntly, thankfully, so we don't waste our time explaining every little detail. However, the little detail that we require to understand what Sri Mataji is going to explain is this. In this chart, you see number 2. That's called the Swadhisthana chakra. Yes, it's a Sanskrit word, so we don't really have to memorize it. All we need to know is it is the center of creativity when it's performing in its right state, but it is also a center of doing things. It's a center of tracking your to-do lists and getting them done and so on. So when this center is not balanced, you do a little bit of harm to yourself because you're being driven by what the world is making you do. But if you get this center in balance, you are the driver rather than the horse riding the chariot that rides the horse, that sort of thing. I think that will be enough explanation, Lynn, if you now can move on to.
And maybe also that we're starting off with our enlightenment, and if it's your first time, that catches you up to all of us. And then we have this weekly practice of this meditation, but we always start off with our enlightenment and then strengthening that. So that chart is relevant in that enlightenment is our own power that's residing there in that triangular bone. So that's what we're awakening if we haven't already, and then we strengthen that if we've already done it.
And we missed something important from the chart. Is the photograph? is that all this knowledge about the subtle system has been gifted to us by Srimata Jinenva Devi,
yeah,
from the 1970s, and it is one of those rare, you could say, one of the rare incarnations where we have been able to record what he has been able to say, and we have the privilege of playing those speeches. So today we'll play the speech, which is a bit focused on center number 2, as you can see. After that speech, what we'll do is Lynn will walk us through the process of self-realization. That was again a gift from her to all of us. And then we'll get into a meditation. And hopefully at the end of it, you'll really be able to articulate your state of heart from now, how it is right now, compare, and then you can compare it to how it is after the session. Would you like to play the speech, Lynn?
Surely, sure.
I bow to all the seekers of truth. I'm happy you all are enjoying this music and this dancing. And about these artists, I have to say that after coming to Sahaja Yoga at a very young age, they achieved such mastery. Because when the Kundalini rises, as I told you, she enriches your centers. The center about which I was going to talk to you today is the center of creativity, which looks after your power of action, physical and mental. This power of action moves on the right side of the spinal cord and coming to the optic chiasma, it crosses over, passes to the left side and creates an institution called ego. The institution of ego is a myth. What we do is to get something dead, like some trees dead, so make some platform or some furniture. We take some stones and make a hall, and we think we have done a great job. Actually, what we have done is to reconstruct the dead. But while doing it, we get the feeling that we have done it something. That is how our ego develops. This channel on the right hand side caters to your future. So those people who plan too much, think too much, exhaust the energy of this center, because this center has the first responsibility to convert the fat cells in the stomach for the use of the brain, which is overused, to make them into grey cells. So when you start thinking too much, it has to work more for this very important function. When it starts working for one function, the other functions are neglected. And the other functions are, it has to cater, to nourish, or to give energy to your liver, to your pancreas, to your spleen, to your kidneys, and part of your intestine. So, once you start neglecting these organs, first your liver suffers. Means the function of liver gets limited. The function of the liver basically is to absorb the heat of the body, which is the poison, and allow it to permeate into the bloodstream. But the energy is so limited that it cannot function properly. So this center starts neglecting liver, and liver then cannot get rid of all the heat of the body. So the heat starts flowing upward. When it starts flowing upward, then there's a center, what we call as the right heart, which gets affected. People develop a disease called asthma with it. Also they develop the disease, what we call as a massive heart attack on the left hand side, when the heat reaches there. They also can develop a paralysis of the right side when it reaches the brain. The vulnerability is there. And then it is triggered somehow by the left side action maybe. Such people are futuristic. They go on planning for the future. The future doesn't exist. Only the present is the truth. But they go on planning about future, waste their energies and ultimately find that all their plans fail. One must know the divine plan. If you know the divine plan, then you don't have to plan because you know the divine is already planning for you everything. When you understand after realization that everything is done by Param Chaitanya, by this all-pervading power, by this Ruh, then you do not think that you are doing something. Moreover, as I told you, when the Kundalini rises through the Agya Chakra, both these institutions of ego and superego are sucked in, so there is no ego. So you become egoless. So your karmas or your duties or your so-called work you have done become akarmas. Then you don't talk like this, that I have done this, I have done that. They say, oh, it's rising, it's happening, it's working out. You start speaking in the third person. Even sometimes children you will find, they talk like that. This little boy won't go because it is obstinate. They'll talk about themselves. If you notice, if they are realized schools, they talk like that, in the third person. So you become a third person. And nourishment to this energy, to this center comes through your realization. As the Kundalini is connected to the mains, as a result, you get into balance. You are in thoughtless awareness. Somebody has asked me about the thinking yesterday. So the thought arises from the past or from the future. As we have a capacity to react because of the construction of our body as a prism. It's a little scientific thing, but if you listen to some of my lectures, you will understand what I mean. Now what happens when you see something, you react. Anything you see, you react. You see this carpet, you'll react. You will see this mic, you'll react. You'll think something about it. So a thought comes either from the future or from the past, and there's a wave of thought coming and going, again thought coming and going. It comes and disappears. In between these thoughts, there's a little space, which is the present. But if I say you pay attention to yourself, to your present, you cannot. Unless until you are a realized soul. So when the Kundalini rises, these thoughts become, they lean out, means they become thin. When they become thin, the space in between increases, and that's how you become thoughtlessly aware. So the thinking is minimized. Then the liver doesn't have to do all the time the job of converting your fat cells into grey cells. It comes into balance. Then the second one is the pancreas. That is neglected too. In a person who is futuristic, who thinks too much, plans too much, that also becomes neglected. Now, function of the pancreas is to absorb the sugar into bloodstream in a proper way. But because it is neglected, it has a very limited energy, it cannot function, so you get diabetes. Because of too much thinking, you get diabetes. As I told you yesterday that in India, if you have to give tea to someone, be careful if he's from a village. Because in the village, you have to put so much sugar that the spoon should stand at right angles, otherwise it's no tea for them. And they never get diabetes, never get diabetes. Diabetes is the headache of the people who sit on chairs, write, think, worry, and are time bound. All such people get diabetes. They are futuristic, egoistical, arrogant, hot-tempered. And such people get also heart attacks, which are of a massive nature. The left heart is connected in a way. When there's too much of exertion on the physical side, also one can get heart attack. The another type of heart attack one gets is a angina. That's due to some other reason. That's due to the lethargic heart. So now we have another problem which is very serious, is that of the spleen. Spleen is the speedometer. It's the one that gives us rhythm. If we are rhythmic in life, spleen keeps all right. But we are very hectic. And the function of the spleen is to create red blood corpuscles whenever there is an emergency. So the way we are always under a shock. Early in the morning you get up, what do you see? You read the newspaper, horrid news. I mean, newspapers have to give horrid news. They never give good news, you know. They say we don't want to say if some plane has landed safely, but but if there's a disaster, so many have died, killed in action, murders, horrible things, naturally you get a shock because you are a human being. And in a subconscious, you feel. In the unconscious area, you get the jerk. There's a shock. Then you start the day in a hectic way. You are time bound, you have to rush, you can't take your breakfast, you just take something, grab. Rush to the car or maybe on anything, and then you find a jam. In modern days, everything keeps you on attention. Then you reach the office, there's the boss is getting angry with you because you are late. As it is, I don't know how much work we really produce. Only the mess we have created in this world, I think, much more in the modern times than much work. We cannot have people like Mozart nowadays. We can't have anyone like Michelangelo. We cannot have any artists who can create beautiful things. We do not have beautiful buildings now, horrible plastics. We cannot have beautiful artistic clothes. Everything is becoming plastic, and for which we are working so very hard to create plastic mountains. All this leads to tensions. So we become tense. And the tensions go on increasing as this ego increases, covers all your head. And you go into tension. But the worst thing that happens to you, that this spleen, which is the one responsible for keeping the rhythm of your life, goes hectic and becomes crazy. It doesn't understand what sort of a personality you are. Sometimes you rush to that, sometimes you rush to that. There's no rhythm in your life. So it gets upset. And it starts producing red blood corpuscles unrhythmically. It doesn't know. So the vulnerability is there. And as soon as there's any triggering from the left side, you develop a horrible disease called blood cancer. And the only treatment you can have in the medical science is that you will be certified that you will die after 8 days or after 1 month. That's the only possibility. But with Kundalini awakening, your own power nourishes this center and supplies energy, soothes down your hectic speedometer, which is the spleen, and the disease gets cured. There are many we know of who got their blood cancer cured, and even after 6-7 years they are living and kicking all right.
So let's get connected to that energy we were mentioning earlier. That's our Kundalini that Shrimataji was also talking about in the talk. And we call it our self-realization, but basically we're awakening our motherly energy. So this energy is just waiting. She's waiting there for us to ask her to take us into that spiritual realm.
So, Lynn, before you start, I was just, you know how Shrimataji gives a very simple example connecting the subtle body with our behavior. Or, for example, the plane crashes.
Yeah.
Now, the psychologists can't explain in simple way. They have a very scientific sounding language. So just for general interest, it's called the negativity bias and the availability bias. So the negativity bias is something your brain is conditioned to focus more on the negative things happening around you. Like she said, we don't focus on the millions and millions of flights that land safely, but we focus on things that don't. And what availability bias is, because you read a lot more about plane crashes, you also start to think that plane crashes are more frequent than they are, right? And for various reasons, that's how news channels live. And we're always being bombarded by these sort of very smart tricks to get us subscribed to a news channel or whatever. And I was thinking that the process that you're going to show keeps us in so much balance that these things can't really affect as strongly as they generally do before we have our self-realization. Would you agree?
Yeah, and there's a gap before we react to something, and you kind of can see, even if you do react, you kind of pull away from it, you think, because you realize what you're doing is just reacting to something that's not actually correct.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Of it, connecting to that.
Would you like me to share the steps?
Let's show what we're doing first. We're going to do hand movements, so if it's your first time doing this, don't worry, just follow along. And we put our right hand on the left side of our body. So we'll be at various energy centers. We'll start from the heart. We'll go down to just under our rib cage. That's the top of our stomach. And we'll go down to the hip, which is adjacent to that energy. And we'll make various statements as we go back up to the heart. Then we'll go to the neck. And then it'll be the forehead, putting our forehead in the palm of our hand. We might also try and get to it from behind. And then ultimately we're going up to this 7th energy center on the top of our head, which is above our thinking. So here's where we go into that space between the thoughts. And it'll simply be by the asking of it. We'll go into that state. So maybe we can put on the slide as we go through it, Vara. And we can do with our eyes closed, but if you feel you're lost or you want some clarification, you can just have a look on the slide and see where the hand is supposed to be. But let's just keep our eyes closed for the minute, so you can see the various centers there, starting from the heart, going across. So, but before we start, let's just have a few deep breaths, keeping our feet flat on the floor, or if we're seated on the floor, obviously we're connected to the Mother Earth. All these elements also help us to get into the present and that state of meditation that we're all going to go into. A few deep breaths. So it's all about oneself, not anyone else. So your hands are open on your lap. Should be nice and comfortable. If you've got anything tight on, maybe you can loosen it. You can take off your glasses. It's breathing quite deeply, effortlessly, deeply. And now we'll ask we'll have a few sentences, we'll ask ourselves questions just to take our attention inside. So we'll put our right hand on our heart on the left side, the right hand goes to the left. Still breathing. And at this spot, let's just ask ourselves this fundamental question. Who am I? Who am I, and what is my purpose? Who am I? Who is the I? I do this and I do that, but who is this I? And going further into this questioning, let's take our hand down to just under the rib cage, the top of our stomach. This is the energy center of our mastery of ourselves. And we'll ask that question, am I my own master? Am I my own master? Things that might give us a clue that we're not our own master is if we worry about what others think about us and try to take actions that gain approval from outside. We've been told something so many times, we think that's the right thing. But let's just ask that question, am I my own master? Now let's go down to where the hip and the body join. And we're going to awaken our Kundalini energy, our mothering energy, our Mother Kundalini, by asking her, Mother, please give me the truth about myself. Please give me the pure desire to become a spiritual being. Mother, please give me the pure desire. And please give me the true knowledge of myself. So this is a very strong bit of information we're going to start getting now, which will be where we are, what's our situation. And we'll feel that on our hands. A few more breaths here, still desiring from our heart, for our Mother Kundalini to give us the true information about ourselves. Now let's go back up to the top of our stomach, just under the ribs. And now we've connected with our mothering energy, so we can say, Mother, I am my own master. Because my own mother will tell me what's right and what's wrong. We'll be able to feel that either directly in our centers or in our fingers, which we'll explain later, directly correspond to all of our centers. A few more times. Mother, I am my own master. Now let's go back up to our heart. We can answer that question now. Mother, I am the pure spirit. You should start to feel your own Kundalini energy now. Now let's come up to the neck area. So it's where the neck and the shoulder join. Fingers are going around to the back. Just turning your head a little to the right so you can hold this area quite firmly. Now this area is hampered if we feel guilty about things. And this is a habit we have. Because we feel we're responsible for everything in the world, we feel guilty for anything that happens. But we are the spirit, so we don't need to feel guilty. And that, in fact, hampers anything getting repaired or getting sorted out if we just keep feeling guilty about things. So it's not that we don't want to look at what's the wrong and actions that have been wrongly taken. We can recognize them and then not do them again. But we don't have to feel guilty, and that actually doesn't change anything. So let's just say, Mother, I'm not guilty, and that should clear that. An interesting comment we had last week was that the etymologically, the meaning of the word not guilty is innocent. So if that feels good for you, you can say, I'm innocent, I'm not guilty. I'm innocent. Say it quite a few times because it really gets loaded up with guilt. Just sort of restricts this center, restricts that flow. So once your Kundalini energy flows through here, it does widen the space. I'm not guilty. Mother Kundalini, by your grace, I'm not guilty. Now let's come up to the forehead. So we're dropping the forehead into the palm of our hand, holding it firmly on either side. And here, at this center, we need to forgive everyone. So we'll simply say, Mother, I forgive everyone. And I forgive myself. So try not to think of anyone in particular or any situation in particular. But obviously if it just pops in your mind, just I forgive, and let it go. I forgive everyone and I forgive myself. And let's just take that idea from the back. So bending up, taking the hand round behind your head, resting it in the palm still, but from the reverse side. And here just to take out any guilt or any residual feelings there. We can ask the question, Mother, if I've made any mistakes that I know of, that I don't know of, please forgive me. So we'll just lighten our load here. Please forgive me. And of course, we are forgiven. Please forgive me. And then coming up to the top of our head, stretching the palm. Let's place the palm on the top of our head. You can just drop it a little forward. And it's the fontanelle area that was soft when we were a baby. It's right in the middle of our head, and it's the middle of our palm. We're pushing down quite firmly, giving a bit of massage by rotating the scalp in a clockwise direction, which goes forward and to the right and back. It's the clockwise motion, but don't worry too much about that. And here we're asking for our self-realization, which is where we travel with our Kundalini into that seventh center, just above the brain. Really asking from our heart, Mother, please strengthen and establish my self-realization. Mother, by your grace, please give me my self-realization. And then let's just let our hand rise up slowly, keeping our attention there where the hand is. You might feel a little flow. It might be just subtly aware of a warm or cool flow on the top of your head. Let's bring that right hand down. You can take the left hand up, bring it close, take it up, and you might feel that flow. But don't worry if you don't feel it right now, you might feel it next time. As you practice this, it gets stronger and stronger. And then keeping your attention there on the top of your head. The two hands are back in your lap. Just try to be in the present. Feel that flow on top of your head. You can even ask from your heart, Mother, please let me feel the thoughtless state. Please give me thoughtless awareness. Please let me feel my connection to the all-pervading energy. It's looking after the whole world.
You can be conscious of Sri Mataji's advice about the center number 2 or the Swadisthana chakra, and utter some prayers that can help us. One of the things that Sri Mataji was talking about is the liver. We can take our left hand, place it a little bit below the ribcage or on the ribcage, The liver is on the right side, just below the ribcage. We can place our left hand there. Shri Mataji, please let the power of Kundalini that we just got awakened bring my liver into balance. Mother, this liver that gets hot because of all the activities we do, be cooled by the coolness of the moon. Mother, please let my liver cool from the coolness of the moon. Mother, please let the coolness of the Himalayas flow into my liver. Mother, please let the power of the magical herb Sanjeevani regenerate my liver. Bring our left hand back to the lap. We place our right hand on top of the head again, what we call the fontanel bone. This is the area where the Kundalini rises from the bottom of the spine, pierces this fontanel bone, and connects with the power that created us. So we can ask, Mother Kundalini, please establish the connection between my spirit and the power that created my spirit. This connection also is called yoga. Simply say, Mother, for your grace, please establish my connection with the divine. Once your attention settles on top of your head, you can bring back your hand to the lap and keep your attention just on top of the head. Let's put our right hand on our heart. Mother, please let my heart feel your unconditional love. With your fingers pointing towards the front of your body, follow the path of Kundalini like this and touch the top of your head. While you do this, you can say, Mother, please establish yourself in my fontanel moon. You can let your hand be there if it helps your meditation. It's not necessary, you can bring it back to your lap. Whether our hand touches the top of the head or not, let's pray that our attention stays at the top of the head. Lynn, if you could explain what we have to do on a daily routine until we meet next time.
Absolutely. So best is to, if you can, raise your energy as we did. We've got a short way of doing that. This is the bare minimum what you need to do. So we're raising our kundalini and putting on abundance. So this is the way we can start and finish a meditation, which could be simply lighting a candle, maybe having a photograph of Sri Mataji, which gives more vibrations, as I have there on my table. But this is the raising of the kundalini and putting on the bandhan. So let's do that first, then we'll have some more alternatives. So the left hand is rising up, so the left side of desire is raising up, and the right hand of action is winding around that hand. And we're taking that up to the top of our head and tying a knot. So that's, we really want to keep our attention up there on the top of our head. Second time. 2 knots. And the third time. 3 knots, signifying our desire to be in thoughtless awareness. And then we're going to protect ourselves with the lovely vibrations that are now flowing. So we'll be going over and back 7 times. So that's once for each of our chakras or energy centers, as we also call them. 7 times over and back. And then if you've got yourself into the WhatsApp group, you've got a morning meditation and an evening meditation. You've done your bandhan, raised your kundalini, you can simply go to your WhatsApp group, the Meditate for Free, and you'll see you've got your morning meditation for tomorrow. You can simply play that and then finish by raising your kundalini and putting on a bandhan, and that'll be approximately 10 minutes. Otherwise, you don't have to go electronic at all. You can just simply sit there and, as we just did with Vara and myself, just raising up the kundalini to the top of your head. And the time of your meditation, if you're feeling it and it's feeling great and you want to sit there for longer, you sit there for that long. If it takes you the entire 10 minutes before you get to that moment of thoughtless awareness where you're feeling good, that's okay, as long as you touch that spot. And some days you won't touch it, some days you'll easily touch it. And, you'll start to feel things on your hands as well, which we'll go into as we go. That center that we've been focusing on today is the Swadisthana, and that's these 2 thumbs. So there's the left and the right. If you're feeling some pressure on either of your thumbs, that's that energy center, and you can simply put your right hand on the left side or left on the right. And that's that balancing that Vara and was talking about a bit earlier. So, and there's a nice analogy as to why do we need to be in balance? Well, if you were an aeroplane and you weren't balanced, you're not going to stay in the air. So basically, we want to stay up here in our place of thoughtless awareness. So that's why we'll try to balance ourselves. But again, it doesn't have to be that you go through every chakra, every center and try to make sure everything's in balance. It's just if you become aware of something, or which can be by a physical manifestation, or simply one of your thumbs is pinging. So you just put your hand there, same as if you give yourself a cut when you're chopping the veggies. You'll put your hand on and try to stop the flow of blood. And so you're just looking after yourself that way. So your mothering energy will just give you a tip that you only can handle. So all is well. And
so Lynn, there were some who came a bit late, so I'll repeat the WhatsApp group. The need for WhatsApp group. So WhatsApp group is a nice safe place where people who are interested in meditation come here, and Lynn sends some little nudges. For example, the energy center that Shrimataji talked about is one energy center, but the number of aspects there are to it. Shrimataji explains them in different ways. So those things Lynn shares usually. So you're very welcome to join that. Another thing I wanted to talk about or show is give me a minute. So often we get the feedback that it's very nice, we meditated, but then when we are not in this session, we go home and then we find it difficult to sort of know what to do, what not to do. So for that, what we have been doing is we share the recording of whatever just happened on this YouTube channel. So what you could just do is youtube.com at learn to meditate. So when you do this, you have this little channel coming up. So here we have, for example, today's session is recorded here. You could just play it and move your mouse to where we are doing the meditation. You can skip Lynn's and my chit chat, and then use it like that until next week. So that'll be useful. So also I think we are going through this learn to meditate, or yeah, that should work.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions, you can reach out to Lynn on the WhatsApp group, and hopefully you'll be sorted.
Well, exactly. And what else was I going to say? There was something I was going to say. Yeah, we'll also have the link for joining the session on the WhatsApp group, so you don't have to worry about where is it. We'll put that there just before the session for next Monday as well. And also I'll put the recording on the WhatsApp group as well. And if you're in one of whatever group you're in, I'll post the link there, don't worry. So all is well. Of course, if you have any questions, you can put those in the chat. We'll put on a bit of music if you want to keep meditating, and particularly those who are on YouTube, we'll have a little bit of music for you and then we'll finish. But those on Zoom, pop your questions or feedback in the chat, and we'll have that, and that won't be recorded, so feel free to ask whatever.
Yes, the messages that you put to us on Zoom are not being broadcasted to YouTube, so please throw all your messages in. All right, we'll see you all next week.
Yep. Thanks everyone, lovely meditating with you all.
Thank you.
So I'll just put on that music for everyone. Bye, people in YouTube. Here comes your music.
Bye.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for joining. See you next week.